Hey, my friend, welcome to lesson 6. Responding, not reacting. Ooh, that's a big one. Think about that for a minute. Responding, not reacting. So maybe you're a person that starts your day and you just, you create your day, you set your intention. And in the events of the day, you just kind of walk through and you're just kind of going through and everything's just fine. And really difficult situations come up and you're just kind of an observer and none of it really bothers you and you're able to just be a witness, and sometimes you have a few things to say, but you just observe, and sometimes you take a step back, and then when you say something that's really kind and loving, and then you go to sleep all filled with love and joy and peace and happiness, and you're good. Maybe you're one of those people. So if you're one of those people, you're probably not going to understand this. But if you're not one of those people, if that's an area you're still working on, if you're someone who maybe starts your day, you do set the intention, you do really get into the energy of creating your day, you do hold on to your energy and learn how to maintain it, and then something just pops in sideways. Somebody says something and it just pisses you off. And you spew something back out of reaction. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about learning how to respond, as in my first example, not react, as in my second example. So we got to start at the beginning. And the beginning is way back when for you, where you learned those subconscious feelings and experiences and thoughts that are kind of living underneath the surface, right? And you learned those behaviors. And maybe they're not everyday experiences, but throughout your days or your weeks or your months, once in a while you get triggered by something or someone. Usually, many of us are blessed to have one or two, maybe more people in our lives that trigger us, that push our buttons. You know what I mean by that? Push your button means you got something inside of you and it seems to be okay, but then somebody comes along and it just irks you. Sometimes you don't even know why. Well, that's because you got a button inside of you. And that button inside of you, we talked about this earlier, that button inside of you, well, that is saying, hey, something's out of alignment here. There's something that you need to look at, right? And that button is being triggered by usually a person or a behavior that is reminding you of a situation. And not always consciously, but your energy, your mind, body, spirit, and emotions, they are reacting to it. And sometimes we blow off, sometimes we shut down, sometimes we might isolate, sometimes we disconnect. Any and all of those can happen when you are in the place of reacting. You're reacting from your subconscious pains. And what happens oftentimes when you're reacting from a subconscious place is things come out of your mouth that you never meant to say out loud. Are you with me? Like, I'm sure that's happened, right? Where you for example, I'm going to give you an example. You're at work and you have a boss, let's say, that you don't generally usually like. And the boss tends to push your buttons. And let's say that the boss says, Sally, you're not doing the work you need to be doing. You're not doing a good enough job. And that word, good enough, well, that triggers you. And you're and you react right then. And you go, well, you just start bawling, let's say. Or you yell at her. Or you just shut down and never say anything to anybody. Okay? That would be your reaction. Versus a response would be, well, Miss Armageddon, why do you say that? What is it that you see that I need to be doing differently? How might I be able to do it in a way that works for both of us? That would be a response. But the reacting piece, it just pops off. You don't even have any control over it. Sometimes you don't even realize you said it out loud until you look at the person that's looking at you and you're going, oh shit, that came out of my mouth. I didn't mean for that to come out. So when we get triggered and we have those subconscious reactions, oftentimes what happens right after that, so we go out of the room, out of the office, right? Let's say you reacted and that was a circumstance. You reacted and you said something back to her. And then you go out of the office and you go sit down in your cubicle with your 10 other buddies and you start telling all of them how terrible she is, or how much she doesn't listen, or how she she's not a good boss. And what you do is, instead of being able to take the information that she shared with you, which was, you know what, you're not working hard enough, or you're not doing enough here. And maybe it's true. And maybe it's not true, but maybe it is true. And instead of being able to just take that and reflect on what she said and look at it and see if it's true, and if it isn't, then you don't need to worry about it. It's not yours. That's hers. And not take it personal. And if it is true, as I reflect, then I can sit with it and I go, you know, I could make some changes here. That's the healthy way to do it. What most people do, though, is they project and they start telling all kinds of stories about the boss because they aren't comfortable looking at some of the truth. So instead of being able to reflect on the information, they project right back out. And maybe you're one of those. I think we've probably all done this probably a few hundred times. What I want you to look at is you don't have to do that. There's another way. Now, we've already talked several of the lessons. We've talked about hand on the heart. Hand on the heart. And listen. Listen. What is it within me that's being triggered? What is it within me that's hurt? What does my little girl need? Why is this hurting so bad? That would be reflection. And that would be a healthy way to have a conscious response to the situation. A conscious, loving, kind response to yourself and to the person that might be pushing your buttons. Because believe it or not, they're actually a teacher for you. They're actually there to serve you and to help you. So our goal right here in lesson 6 is to respond, not react. I want you to look at some of the past experiences you've had just over the last week and just see if there's anywhere you reacted. And I want you to take some time to write about what you could have done differently, how you could reflect, or reflect right now on what maybe that was showing you. And if you did reflect and you did respond, great, then you don't need this homework. If you can look back and not see that you've had any reactions. But if you've had a few, pick one or two. Let's go a little deeper into this. I'm telling you, my friends, this tends to be a huge challenge for people. And again, we're in step 3. We're like halfway through this process of elevating your life. And you have to be willing to make some choices. And one of the choices is, I need to be willing to see things. I need to be willing to hear other people's feedback. And I need to be willing to take the time to step back and really reflect before I judge, even express. Because maybe there's something for me to look at. And maybe not, also. Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it's totally about them and they're projecting. But at least be responsible for your own energy and look within to see if you're responding or reacting.